Thank you for joining me on this adventure. Your presence means the world to me. It's a pleasure to have you join us as we uncover the secrets of ShutdownDC. ShutdownDC is an activist organization in the Washington metropolitan area. ShutdownDC formed originally in 2019 as a coalition of climate activists concerned with the climate crisis, aiming to snarl traffic in the city to demand action on the Green New Deal and other climate-related issues. Since then, ShutdownDC has expanded their scope to advocacy via nonviolent direct action on issues as diverse as abortion rights, the International Monetary Fund and World Bank's treatment of the Global South, and abolishing the filibuster. With our curiosity piqued, let's embark on a dedicated exploration of 2019 and its fascinating intricacies. ShutdownDC formed in 2019 as a coalition of climate activists with the goal of disrupting traffic across Washington, District of Columbia to demand solutions to the climate crisis. They were supported by groups such as Code Pink, the DC chapter of the Democratic Socialists of America, Rising Tide North America, the DMV hub of the Black Lives Matter Global Network, the DC hub of the Sunrise Movement, the DC chapter of Extinction Rebellion, the Chesapeake Climate Action Network, Beyond Extreme Energy, Work for Peace, the DC chapter of Backbone Campaign, the Friends Meeting in Washington Social Concerns Committee, and the Labor Network for Sustainability. The coalition set up blockades at 22 intersections which slowed traffic across the city. During the demonstration, 32 were participants arrested. Let's now venture into the realm of 2020 and explore the fascinating intricacies it holds. Despite its initial formation as a temporary organizing structure, ShutdownDC continued to participate in climate protests as an affinity group in the months following its initial action, maturing into an organization of its own. As the COVID-19 pandemic struck, its focus began to broaden, and the organization undertook a week of action around International Workers' Day 2020, aiming to highlight how the pandemic had exacerbated inequality. This included a bike protest in support of essential workers, the painting of a large street mural outside the DC home of Jeff Bezos in support of Amazon workers, and a protest on bike and car in support of striking workers, among other causes. ShutdownDC played a role in the George Floyd protests in Washington, D.C., including organizing a protest in Lafayette Square, a large protest at the home of then-acting United States Department of Homeland Security Secretary Chad Wolf in Alexandria, Virginia, relating to his role in 2020 deployment of federal forces in the United States, and protests during then-President Donald Trump's speech to the 2020 Republican National Convention. In the run-up to the 2020 United States presidential election, ShutdownDC began to organize around democracy issues, including large protests outside the home of U.S. Postmaster General Louis DeJoy, who faced allegations of slowing postal service and voter suppression. ShutdownDC began to plan actions and meet relating to the possibility of attempts to overturn the 2020 United States presidential election should Joe Biden win and Donald Trump deny the outcome. ShutdownDC planned a week of action starting on Election Day to defend democracy via direct action, including a large event with live performers on election night in Black Lives Matter Plaza and escalating actions should Donald Trump indeed deny the results of that election. The group stated they believed that Trump will not leave office without mass mobilization and direct action. ShutdownDC led efforts to pressure hotels to enforce COVID-19 restrictions on those coming to the city to protest against Joe Biden's victory, and for the revocation of the liquor license for Harry's Bar, which had been fined for COVID-19 restriction violations relating to crowds of masked supporters of Donald Trump in the venue after election-related protests. Amidst this, the group continued to take action relating to inequality and the COVID-19 pandemic, including by dropping body bags in front of the homes of prominent Republican senators to demand COVID-19 relief legislation. As efforts to overturn the 2020 United States presidential election accelerated, ShutdownDC hosted a vigil outside of the Vienna, Virginia home of Missouri Senator Josh Hawley. Protesters sang songs, told stories, and delivered a copy of the Constitution of the United States to his doorstep. Holly called Shutdown Antifa scumbags in a Twitter thread about the protest, claiming protests were violent, countering the descriptions of local police who described the protesters as peaceful. Brace yourselves for the next chapter, where we'll be dissecting 2021. In the days around the inauguration of Joe Biden in January 2021, Shutdown ran a successful pressure campaign to cancel all ebb bookings in DC, fearing right-wing violence in the wake of the January 6 United States Capitol attack. In August 2021, Shutdown led a protest opposing the Line 3 pipeline at the home of White House Chief of Staff Ron Klain. 23 people were arrested by the Montgomery County Police Department. In September 2021, when the Supreme Court of the United States declined to block a law restricting abortion in Texas, Shutdown led a protest for abortion rights in front of the Chevy Chase, Maryland home of Justice Brett Kavanaugh, a form of protest which soon became a regular affair for conservative justices. In October 2021, Shutdown led a 25-hour-long protest outside Kentucky Senator Mitch McConnell's home to press for abolishing the filibuster. In December 2021, Shutdown helped organize a coalition of organizations to engage in a large blockade of traffic in Washington, District of Columbia, centered around supporting the Build Back Better Act, which included significant climate action, as well as other progressive legislative priorities. Traffic was snarled around the United States Capitol, and the United States Capitol Police arrested 38. There were about 150 participants. Let's now turn our attention to 2022 and examine its role within the larger context. Shortly before the one-year anniversary of the January 6 attack, the group hung a banner demanding Congress expel all fascists. In January 2022, Shutdown organized a smaller-scale blockade around the White House. Shutdown has been an active participant in the 2022 abortion protests. In the wake of the leaked potential decision in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization in June 2022, Shutdown organized large-scale street blockades in the areas around the Supreme Court of the United States. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis called the peaceful blockades an insurrection on Fox and Friends. In July 2022, protesters with Shutdown went on to attempt to confront Brett Kavanaugh at a D.C. location of Morton's The Steakhouse, where he was dining, for his role in Dobbs v. Jackson Women's Health Organization, forcing Kavanaugh to leave via a back door. The protest was defended by political figures such as Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, who called it an exercise in free speech, and U.S. Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who tweeted, "Poor guy. He left before his southall because he decided half the country should risk death if they have an ectopic pregnancy within the wrong state lines. It's all very unfair to him." The group later offered D.C. area service workers up to $250 for sightings of Supreme Court Justices Brett Kavanaugh, Samuel Alito, Clarence Thomas, Neil Gorsuch, Amy Coney Barrett, and John Roberts in a viral tweet. In October 2022, Shutdown organized a coalition of organizations for a week of actions, including street marches and the bike blockade, surrounding the annual meetings of the IMF and World Bank, under the banner "For People, for Planet, Decarbonize and Decolonize." Demands included an end to fossil fuel investment by the institutions, as well as the cancelling of debts held by countries in the Global South. In December 2022, Shutdown activists disrupted a banquet held to benefit the Capitol Hill Pregnancy Center, a crisis pregnancy center at a Marriott in Crystal City, Arlington, Virginia, claiming the clinic lies to patients, endangers pregnant people, and is part of a national anti-abortion network. Let's zoom in on 2023 and understand its implications. In March 2023, protesters from Shutdown and others crashed a Christian-themed story hour held by Brave Books at the DC Public Library, though they failed to prevent it entirely. In April 2023, Shutdown held a bike protest to block traffic near the World Bank headquarters, calling for the bank's incoming president Ajay Banga to stop funding fossil fuels and accelerate clean energy instead. With our foundation established, it's time to explore criticism and its relevance to our overarching theme. Shutdown has been critiqued by many members of the Republican Party, as well as by venues where shutdown protests have taken place, both due to ideological opposition to shutdown and on the basis of the tactics shutdown organizes with. Senator Josh Hawley referred to the group as Antifa scumbags in a tweet in the wake of a protest outside of his Virginia home, which brought media attention to the group. In the run-up to shutdown's street blockades surrounding the U.S. Supreme Court, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis accused shutdown of plotting an insurrection on Fox and Friends. In the wake of their disruption of Justice Brett Kavanaugh's dinner at Morton's The Steakhouse, the restaurant released a statement slamming the group, stating that politics, regardless of your side or views, should not trample the freedom at play of the right to congregate and eat dinner. And that disturbing the dinner of all of our customers was an act of selfishness and void of decency. An editorial writer for Deseret News, the mouthpiece of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, critiqued the group as promoting mob rule with its protests of Supreme Court justices. Following disruptions of an annual banquet for the Capitol Hill Pregnancy Center, a crisis pregnancy center, Josh Hawley again commented on Twitter in reference to shutdown. Ha ha ha. These people are such losers. The Heritage Foundation, a prominent conservative think tank, called the protest on Twitter gross. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this video.